All right, welcome to Waking with Endo. My homegirl Andrea,
Hello.
she is rocking flannel,
Of course.
and was at National Flannel Day.
Yes, it is.
That, you know that. Um, in the event you haven't website, it's waking up with Endo. If you wanted to call in this live stream, you can do so at 0429 and what day is. Today, February, as we just discussed, it's Flannel Day.
National Flannel Day. So you don't.
It's also National Umbrella Day.
It's National Umbrella Day. Is there a day of the week that it's not something?
No, no. There's more. There's
Right.
more. Uh, National Brownie Day,
Ooh. Okay. It's weird.
and we should all be able to get one.
Cream cheese brownie.
Uh,
Like, you put cream cheese on it or in it? It's interesting.
no, they have. I mean, a recipe. Maybe I'll get a shot in a review tomorrow.
Great. Now I want.
And not everybody has good days. Also,
What else?
children and picking up. Some people know. This guy, likes dress up as Captain Jack Sparrow and see the. At
Really
least somebody makes something good.
It's nice to see that people do that, It's just sad to even think about it.
Definitely is. But, and he goes to the hospital for other reasons too. They don't have to just be dying.
Right. That's like the Make-A-Wish, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, something I caught in the news today, which is the rise of the superbugs.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I was turned on by one of my gardener friends, and he turned me on to a book called Restoration Culture.
Okay.
And, from the introduction of GMO plants, we're getting a whole new species of bugs. Never, Earth.
Well, sure. I mean, that's not very hard to believe with bugs that were man-made or created by man, aside from bugs that are being introduced into the ecosystem that are just developing because of what you just said, everything probably from all the pesticides being sprayed and introduction to new bugs to each other, creating new bugs. But weren't the love bugs here in Florida created in a lab?
So they were run at the University of Florida,
In
maybe?
Gainesville, no?
Whatever the one in Gainesville. Yeah, whatever the Gainesville. And they escaped and
now they're just
they've been destroying people's car paint.
They're just having a good old time everywhere.
Great times. So, our previous recording that we got flagged. So we'll talk about any of that fun stuff.
I won't talk about it.
let's talk about that. Yeah.
Is that a spaceship abducting a person or a cow?
It could be both. Is that,
Yes. Well, it's like my friend back here. You see Paul?
I see him. I see him. Thanks for joining us, Paul. Um,
Telep.
I know that, you've had experience with abductions before,
I
right?
have, yes. I've had a couple very in-depth ones. The first one was back in 2017 when I was visited, and then there was a follow-up that happened after that a few months later when I was visited again. And ever since then, I've had a really strong connection to whatever beings are out there. I see them a lot in the sky all the time. I joke about it with my husband about how, they hang out in the trees outside, which they do. You like different, types. They're like different brands, like your Nikes and your Adidas and your your gray aliens,
Well,
your blue.
I,
Hmm?
I have a couple. See if any of these fit those to what kind of got.
Oh, is that a
Uh,
Flatwoods
it's a
monster?
flatwoods monster. I think that's an older. If you look at the little image, it's twice the size of a human.
Sure, yeah.
We got one. We
I
got
mean, there's so many
this
different
guy here, the
species of
little
them.
green man.
Mm-hmm.
And, the dwarves, the Germans, um, Hitler's SS brigade in Antarctica, and the whole trying to clone or being as close as they could to the Nordic race was peanut pellet to these.
It
Um,
it's interesting.
miss.
Antarctica,
Uh, well, that's where these are supposedly at.
right?
Inner Earth
Amongst
creatures in Antarctica. I actually have.
the
Oh,
gray,
and we have the typical grays.
these guys, the
Um,
grays, are like the ones that they send out to watch. They all have, each one of them has a different duty in terms of what they do, why they do it, where they do it, how. Um,
so this as far as the grays are concerned, or, um, so they kind of feel like they might be time travelers from trying to come back to correct things. The skin tone could be from the loss of the ozone layer, the eyes to protect from UV rays,
yeah,
the smaller size from population, and some sightings see nose or mouth. So,
right.
what type of alien do you have contact with?
So in my first encounter, they were blue. It was funny because when they presented themselves to me, they looked human. It was like they were wearing people suits, all the way back to one of them looking like Abraham Lincoln. And when I was finally able to just let my guard down in that situation, I saw them as they are. They were blue. There's so many different names that a lot of these alien races have been given by whom or who, or if it was them that told somebody at some point in time, possibly, maybe, I don't know. Um, I hear Palladian a lot, and I can kind of feel like that's probably the closest that I can think of to what I saw, um, in terms of the skin color, the height, um, how they acted, no mannerisms, everything's speaking telepathically. There's no movement of your mouth or theirs if they have one. Very insightful. Almost like those are the ones that come around to people when they begin an awakening process, to kind of let them know that it's time. And I can't really 100% remember the entire conversation with them, but I do feel like it was like going to where they were was almost like being like sucked into like a warp, where you're somewhere and you're being pulled up, like the pictures that they show, the spaceship and the light and the bodies going up. It's that similar feeling, and I can say that for a fact because that's how I felt. That's not what I saw. It was just being here, having that feeling, and then being in a completely different place that was made to look like something familiar to me, which was a mini mall that was, down the street from where I lived at the time. Um, it was light out, but it wasn't light out. It was dark. So they kind of, when they do come to you, because I know everybody has different experiences with them, and I hear a lot of abduction stories about people getting abducted and having things done to them. Because again, like I said, there's different types of them, and there's different reasons for why they're here and what they do, and wherever they are in our space and time, and for whatever reason they come to the people that they come to for, that's where they find the use of doing or telling the person whatever it is that they need to be told or that needs to be done. For me, it was more of like a guided, like a welcoming, like you're ready. The cool part about the first one was that they took me into this room, and there was all these stones everywhere, like rocks and stones, but they were all blue, and there were different sizes. There was tiny ones and big tall ones, and they were in glass cases all over the place and all over the walls, and I was told to pick one, and I picked one. It was probably about that big, not too big. um and as soon as I grabbed it in my hand and I was looking at that being, I came to back to the earth realm, this where we are right now. And again, like it wasn't a dream. It could have been interpreted that way, but I was not sleeping. So once that happened, that kind of felt like to me like the beginning of being woke, I guess you could call it.
So, in your experience, did you actually feel any of the aliens ever touch you,
Um,
or did it feel like they were more an energy source?
it was energy source. It was, there was no, like, I didn't feel any touching involved, but when I came to, it felt like something went from the top of my head all the way through to my gut down to my feet, and it almost felt like all my insides were being squeezed. So, like, almost like what your body would feel like if you teleported somewhere. It was the oddest, weirdest feeling I've ever had in my body. Never had it since that. That was the only time I ever felt that. Never had it again. Um,
So obviously, you haven't tried DMT.
No, I haven't. And I think that there's a reason that I haven't yet. I feel like that I feel like DMT is something that you do when you're ready, you know. And if I haven't come across the opportunity to do it yet, there's a reason that I haven't. But I guess hearing people's stories about doing that is quite similar to my experience. My
Yeah, really felt to a whole different galaxy.
Yeah.
But I've also experienced similar things from other hallucinogenics.
Well, I think it's a good it's a gateway that I think higher beings use to communicate with us because we're such a lower dimensional being. We're nowhere near what frequency they're at. And I believe, like, DMT and such others do help, with communication with that other realm. I mean, these are things that have been used throughout time by, ancient civilizations to communicate and contact higher dimensional beings, you know. The Egyptians, the Mayans, like,
I mean,
you can go way, way, way back and see that all the rituals and all the things that they performed, um they were using these types of hallucinogenics. I mean, and communication and talking about, like, going deeper into that, all the monuments they built and the pyramids and everything. I mean, there's no possible way that a human today would be able to build with bare hands those types of structures. It's
no, I
absolutely
don't think that we could
impossible.
even 3D print
There's no way.
the
And
pyramids.
especially when it for the time that those pyramids all over the world were built, without the knowledge that we have today. They didn't have that then. How did they know, you know as far as, like, dimensions and coordinates, and how to do it, where to build it, and why? Like, I really do think hallucinogenics have a huge part of, that part of that ancient and or lost civilization building these things. But no, I've never.
You're,
Huh?
you're too far from the analysts. Have you ever heard of Operation High Jump?
No.
Okay, so Bird, I guess, brought a war battalion down to Anna just to make sure that the Nazis were gone after the World War. And he was supposedly all kinds of flying saucers that actually had swastikas on them.
But see, the swastika was taken in as a bad symbol by the Nazis. You know what I mean? The swastika, that symbol is not. People see it and they think immediately. They think, white supremacy and Nazis. But that sign has been around for since the beginning of time, and definitely not used for what the Nazis used.
No, the Buddha symbol that's very similar. It's just a mirror image
Correct. Yep.
as opposed to going the one way that goes down.
Mhm. Antarctica is, first of all, you and we don't know anything about Antarctica. There's, I'm sure, a lot more land than what is shown to us on what is the map that was made up so people could see what, uh, pieces of the world look like. I think the map is complete bullshit. But I mean, Antarctica itself, it's a lot bigger than what they say it is. It holds a lot more secrets than what they're telling us. Obviously, you and I aren't going to know everything that whoever they are know. It's an interesting.
It's definitely a fact.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've spoken to a few different people that are actually flat earthers. There's a ice wall circles the entire. Uh, the whole idea is with the images and everything else contradicts that.
See,
The same token,
I
is the information being manipulated?
exactly.
Us?
And I have a really hard time believing anything NASA shows or says. Not only because NASA was created by Nazis. NASA started exploring. NASA actually started with exploring deep sea, and they switched to exploring space. I mean, I can't believe. I don't know about you, but I don't believe any of the images or anything that they say or going to the moon or any of this crap because I mean, I haven't seen it for myself, so how am I supposed to believe that? And with all the things that NASA's been caught doing, um, lying about, I mean, shit, you could take a picture of a pepperoni and zoom into it and make it a circle and say that's Mars, and people will eat it up. you know.
And well, one of the factual bases of why the moon landing really more what happened is Van Allen radiation belt that they'd have to go through.
Well, how
The actual temperature of the moon.
correct?
It's positive 150 degrees on the left side and negative 2 on the dark side.
My
Neither of which spacemen were to make any matter of moments.
makes no sense.
And these little foil suits.
Yeah, exactly. It makes absolutely no sense. It was just a fabricated story because we were in the middle of a war, and they had to do something to make the United States, look better and bullshit people into thinking that back in the '60s you could really watch footage from the moon. Give me a break. When even today, with all the
And aside from that, it ended the Cold War
sure,
because
that was the whole point of the moon.
we convinced the USSR that we put lasers on the moon that eradicate all of Russia.
It's laughable, isn't it? It's just laughable.
Well, aside from that, there's a space race. Every country had their own aeronautic program trying to get everybody
Right.
stopped.
And how come the U.S.
All the millions of dollars invested.
Exactly. And don't forget that Ronald Reagan got a phone call on his landline from the moon as well, because they could do that back in '69 too.
Yeah, just curious. You set the camera, a video person walking
Right.
off of
Who put that camera?
the moon. Huh? I mean, it's pretty
And
special.
you know what sucks? Like there's so many things to contradict that actually happened, yet some people get really pissed off when you talk about that being a hoax. I mean, people get really butthurt about it, just like the other, what we were talking about on the podcast that they didn't let you upload. They don't want people to know certain things. All the interviews, many interviews with Buzz Aldrin. Have you seen those? where he, where he legit was like, "We never went to the moon." I love him.
From that, they actually went through the radiation belt and went on the moon. Aldrin wouldn't be alive.
No shit. I mean,
He's super old.
They even tell you that radiation belt is so strong that there's just no possible way that you could go through it, not only once but twice again to come back. it makes absolutely no sense, and I don't believe it, and I don't care if people say what they say about it. It's
Yeah, one side of history is just SpaceX, it's not just um, Blue Origin or NASA. I work at a space museum every year,
Mhm.
and there's tons of independent companies that are in sites, and so there's a lot more in the space world than people put on.
Sure.
There's all this Firefly. There's Boeing has a program. There's tons of companies. In the event that the planet really is flat or had an ice wall, somebody would have exposed it by now.
Well, I think these companies get paid a lot of money to not expose anything, and uh, money hungry. People offer you enough money. You know what I mean? You will be quiet. You know, just like they.
There's always going to be a rogue person, though.
There is, and everybody thought it was Elon Musk, but I can't stand him, and I don't think it's him. I think he's just whatever. But I think eventually, I've been saying for years about disclosure and how disclosure is coming, and I don't mean that just with other beings from other planets. I mean with everything. Um, and the problem is that you can't. There's a lot of people I'm sure that know the truth, but if you told the masses the truth, there would be such an outrage of anarchy, and it just would disrupt everything. It would disrupt the order of normal regular life living. So they like to keep it quiet. And I think a lot of people that don't believe in the kind of stuff that we're talking about with factual evidence of it, even they want to ignore it because it's easier to live in a bubble without the knowledge of the truth because it doesn't scare them. And if they're comfortable with that, that's fine. But I'm sure a lot of things come out. I mean, there's, I don't know. There's so many different topics on that. Have you seen that China launched an artificial moon and sun?
I did see that.
Yeah,
Did you see the actual temperature of the artificial?
I did, and I can't remember it off the top of my head because I was
Insane.
yeah, and it's like so.
I mean, we don't have a problem with global warming already.
You know what I mean? Like, so why are they doing that? Like, what's that for? What's the reason for that? You know? Um, and the only thing I can think of is what I was talking to you about the other day, when we were talking about the EMP, like just complete blackout, you know? How can you be ready for a total, complete global blackout by making your own sun, making your own moon, artificially lighting? For what reason?
Well, in the event there's ever a nuclear catastrophe, there'd be so dust in the air. It would take 7 or 8 years for dust to settle enough for the sun to shine through.
Yes.
So China have a working sun. They can declare dominance on the planet as it
But,
is. Event something. We're right on the realm of nuclear catastrophe.
oh, absolutely. I absolutely think
Did,
so too.
uh,
But I don't think.
the United States launched Minuteman 3 yesterday, which is an intercontinental ballistic
Okay.
missile, just to have it come down and have our missile deterrent system shoot it down before it hit impact in the water. Just a show of force to the
Yeah,
world.
to show everybody over there what we can do.
Kim Jong Un just did a public appearance and almost yesterday, and his first words at the the media conference where get ready for war, and then rolled out a parade with 17 intercontinental ballistic missiles.
You know,
So,
I've read a lot of articles about a lot of missiles being deactivated by what they're saying is UFOs deactivating these missiles, nuclear missiles, things not working um, when they're trying to. That's why I'm kind of like, I don't think that if there was to be, if there's a huge nuclear war, everyone dies. There's no point in it, really. Um, I really don't think that it would happen. I don't think that not just the beings that are out there coming back and forth interdimensionally, I also have very strong feelings about it spiritually. I don't know. I don't think it would happen. I think it's all a game of mine's bigger than yours, literally, between countries.
I mean, it's possible, but at the same token, years back, um, I had a friend who brought me over to an ex CIA worker's house,
Okay.
and he had this whole set of maps on the table, and I was looking through the names, and they were all German type names.
Yeah.
So I had asked him, like, what is this, interior Germany? And he told me that these were maps of the world inside our world,
Oh, Inner Earth, yes.
and that there's all, yeah, inner Earth. Maybe next time we chat it up, and hit up the inner Earth theories.
I would love to do that because I got a lot to say about that too.
Uh, I know that the let me this image here somewhere.
Would you see that big sinkhole in Japan that they found that whole
Uh,
the whole underground in the sinkhole in Japan where it was a whole ecosystem un- underground.
I guess.
Did you see the
I
new?
mean,
Let me ask you a question. And this is, did you see that new King Kong movie, the one that came out a couple years ago, maybe? King Kong and
I'm not sure.
Okay, you got to watch that. I think it was Kong versus Godzilla or the other way around. Whatever. Uh,
Okay.
decided to watch it one day just for the hell of it, for entertainment. I was really blown away with the theory that they used of where um, these two gigantic beasts came from, and it was Inner Earth. They showed a
Well, you remember the
and the way
Piranhas 3D?
and the way they got to it was through Antarctica.
Okay, obviously.
Yeah, but I when I saw that, I started cracking up, and my husband's like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm like, "They're giving it to everybody in plain sight, you know."
You know, another movie I feel that they gave it to everybody at Plan Light was Red Dawn. They made the one in like 1984 with Patrick Swayze, but they made one in 2012 with Hemsworth and whatever.
Yep.
But that particular one, it was Russia, North Korea, and China
Mm-hmm.
versus the United States. And now here we are 11 years later, and the same scenario is unfolding as we do this. I mean,
Sure. I mean, we talked about this yesterday. How art imitates life, imitating art, imitating life. Um, I it's so much information and so much true information that they want to give people, but they just don't know how. So let's make a movie about it and make it, fiction, so people can enjoy it and entertain it. Yet it'll still open their minds to think if that's a possibility or not. And just like you said, with this movie that was filmed years ago and now that stuff is happening, it kind of makes you, and that's not the only movie that's done that. There's been so many. It just makes you wonder how many of the things that we've watched that Hollywood's made that have come true or are now slowly being exposed, the scary ones, are those going to happen?
Well, I just saw a preview for AI, which was another movie around the same time.
Great
I
movie.
think it's a boy that might be an AI. I haven't watched it.
So it is about a boy that's an AI. In future times they have, all different types of robots, and they can model a robot to be like a child, or they have the, grown ones, whatever. But that movie's basically about an AI child, that ends up having more of a deeper uh, thought process, feelings, emotions, than previous AIs that have been built. So much so that it was too human like. It's like 4 hours long or 3 hours long, but it's a really, really, really good movie. Now you're going to make me watch it today again.
Mm. That's one thing that changed on the AI technology over the last few years is we never gave the permission for AI to do kill code without human intervention.
Hmm.
And that's changed with the drones now. Military thinks that the computer make more and more decision reactions on the human, but
And they can.
as AI, for sure. But that's pretty much premise behind the Terminator.
Yes. I remember the story I was telling you about, that the factory in Japan where one of the machines, one of the AI robots, started shooting at the workers and killed like 9 of them. And so they shut all of them down. They shut the whole system down. And
That's
one of the
crazy.
robots linked itself to a nearby satellite, turned itself back on, and made itself stronger than it was before. Yeah, a lot like Terminator. And that happened. This was, I think, I want to say maybe like 5, 6 years ago. That was 5, 6 years ago. So what do they have now? you know?
I mean that chat. Um, what is it called? I just downloaded the app today. The what is GPT? I think? Yeah, GPT. It's a whole AI based. You can get to write papers for you, draw pictures of whatever. I mean, we're already
For
there.
sure. That's the ultimate goal, to make everything easy.
You know, I was also thinking about is so this is a Fitbit
Yeah.
Pro or Fitbit something. You got
Yeah, I
the
saw it.
image, but the electrical connectors for it for charging it are right against
George,
your
yeah.
wrist. So, so if AI ever does become angry with humans, you have one of these on your wrist. Even with the small battery load, it could probably reprogram you as a human,
I
if that makes
I
sense.
yep, and I've read that they are putting these RFD chips into certain shots, and that the combination of that and the 5G that they've been rolling out everywhere is causing an electrical type imbalance in the human body, and essentially in the future allowing the actual human body to work as a Wi-Fi. As weird as that sounds.
I mean, sounds a kitty. Not
No. I don't want to be around for this.
I mean, especially with all the chemtrails with the aluminum and all the
Very.
other fun
Yeah.
stuff that they're spraying into our atmosphere. I mean, we're probably already Wi-Fiable.
I think that we are. I think that they've gotten us, not just through chemtrails or the 5G towers or, our devices, but it's also in the food. It's been in the food forever. Everything's got poison. I don't understand what the big issue is with wanting to just hurt every single human on this planet. But then again, I don't really think that this planet is being run by the right side. So, and they want to do depopulation anyways. That's our
There's a very interesting movie
what
that
movie?
is on Prime, I believe. It's called Downsizing or Downsized. Have you
I
seen
saw
that?
that. I didn't watch it, but I saw it on. I want to say it was Netflix is streaming it.
It's definitely worth the watch. You know, and that you were to get downsized, your life equity was like $150,000 because that's the main character did that.
Mm-hmm.
When you get downsized, that breaks down to like $12.4 million. I
Okay.
mean, and in the size of, I think the characters are 5 centimeters once they're downsized. So in a shoebox you could fit
That's really freaky.
multiple houses. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, a mosquito would just suck you dry one bite,
So
and
it is the movie about
they have
down.
ways to fight that.
Is it like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
No, it's actually pretty good, and it makes you think of different possibilities, kind of like that movie or the TV show called Upload. Have you seen that one?
I don't think so. No.
All right, so you're about to die, and they give you the option. They can upload you to a computer mainframe, and you can video chat your family back here on Earth. You just become part of this, um, some software, hardware somewhere, and it's as opposed to the idea of going to heaven or hell. You can just be, you could live eternally on some computer network.
In the cloud.
Once, yeah, but once you run out of money, as opposed on that,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. That's it. You
you
die.
end up getting transferred down to like a limited. No, it's just some limited 2G, whatever. It's watch until
What's it called? Upload?
uh, downsized and upload. Yeah, upload, and then the other one's
I'm writing it down. Cool. I'll check
downsized.
those out.
Well, I think that'll be around a little bit longer than I wanted.
Because I talk a lot.
Hopefully, YouTube does this on crazy violence and actually makes this public.
I kept it PG.
And aside from that, I believe it should live on Facebook.
Cool.
Thank you, Andrea, for check today, and we'll put a little intro. Chat with you soon.